This story came this morning, March 21, 2023. Let's go. I had been married to my wife for 17 years, and as time went by, the nagging suspicion that something was off in our marriage grew stronger. I noticed little things like how she seemed distant or would spend more time on her phone hiding it really fast. When she saw me come to the bedroom, it was hard to put my finger on it. But I just knew that something wasn't right. I tried to push these thoughts aside and focus on the good in our marriage. But the doubts continued to gnaw at me. I wondered if I was being paranoid or if my instincts were telling me something important. Eventually I decided that I needed to do something about my suspicions. I confided in a close friend who suggested hiring a private investigator. At first I was hesitant, but eventually I decided to go for it. The idea of spying on my own wife felt wrong, but I felt like I had to know the truth. I couldn't keep living in the dark and feeling like I was going crazy. I hired a private investigator to follow my wife. I gave the private investigator access to an old iPhone that had our iCloud account attached to it. I gave him everything. It was a nerve-wracking experience. But I felt like I was taking control of the situation. I wanted to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The investigator began following my wife and gathering evidence. It was hard to wait for updates and wonder what they might find. But I knew it was important to be patient. One day, the investigator found evidence that my wife was secretly on a few dating sites. Tinder and OkCupid. It was like a punch to the gut. But it also confirmed my suspicions. I felt sick to my stomach and didn't know how to process the news. I wondered how long this had been going on and why my wife would do this to me. I felt hurt and betrayed, but also angry and confused. The investigator was able to capture footage of my wife meeting up with different men from the dating sites. They would meet at parks, coffee shops and hotels near our house. It was hard to watch, but I knew that I needed to see it. I needed proof to know that I wasn't crazy or imagining things. Seeing my wife with other men was like a nightmare come to life. I felt like my whole world had been turned upside down and I didn't know what to do next. After seeing the footage, I knew that I couldn't stay in the marriage any longer. I made a difficult decision to leave. It was a painful and emotional process, but I knew that it was for the best. Leaving the person I had spent half my life with was one of the hardest things I had ever done. I felt like I was losing a part of myself and I didn't know how to move on. I sat down with my wife and told her that I knew about her affairs with these men and her dating profiles. She was shocked and tried to deny it at first. But eventually she confessed. It was a heartbreaking conversation, but it was also a necessary one. We talked for hours about what happened and why I wanted to understand her perspective and make sense of everything. It was a painful process, but it also brought some closure. I packed up my things and moved out of the house. It was heartbreaking, but I knew it was necessary. I need a space to think and heal. Leaving the home we had built together was surreal. It felt like I was leaving behind a lifetime of memories and starting over from scratch. I filed for divorce soon after moving out. I didn't waste any time and it was stressful for me. But I knew that it was necessary to move on with my life. Divorce papers, court dates and lawyers became a regular part of my life and it was exhausting, but I also knew that I needed to fight for what was rightfully mine. I had put too much time and energy into the marriage to let it go easily. It was a long and difficult battle, but eventually the divorce was finalized. She did not get a dime, but we will put the house on the market and she will get her share of the equity in the aftermath of the breakup. I couldn't help but fantasize about getting revenge on my wife. I imagined all sorts of scenarios, but I knew that I needed to be smart about it. I wanted to hurt her the way she had hurt me. But I also knew that revenge wasn't the answer. It wouldn't bring me any real satisfaction or make me feel better in the long run. One day, I found myself seriously considering uploading the footage of my wife's affairs to my friends and family. It was a tempting thought, but I knew that it could have serious consequences. Well, for her at least, but not for me. I didn't want to be seen as petty or vindictive, but at the same time, I wanted people to know what she had done to me. I was torn between my desire for revenge and my need to be the bigger person. I weighed the potential consequences of uploading the footage and decided that it was worth it. I knew that it would hurt my wife. But I also felt like I needed to show the world what she had done and why I divorced her. I uploaded the footage to my friends and family and my wife's friends and family. It was a moment of triumph, but it was also a moment of reckoning the fallout from uploading. The footage was intense. My wife was humiliated and her friends and family turned against her. I received mixed reaction from my own friends and family. Dealing with the fallout was difficult. I had to navigate a complicated web of emotions and social dynamics. I felt vindicated but also guilty. I knew that my actions had consequences and I had to take responsibility for them. I tried to be there for my wife when she needed me, even though I knew that we could never be together again. As time passed, I began to heal and recover from the trauma of the affair and divorce. I started seeing a therapist and working through my emotions. I realized that I needed to focus on myself and my own healing. I took up new hobbies and spent more time with friends and family. It wasn't easy, but it helped me start to feel like myself again. Eventually, I found a sense of closure in this situation. I realized that I was better off without my ex-wife and that the experience had taught me valuable lessons about trust, communication and self-care. I felt like I had grown as a person and learned more about myself and what I wanted out of life. I was ready to move on and leave the pain of the past behind. With closure came the ability to move forward. I began dating again and even found a new partner who was understanding and supportive of my past experiences. I felt like I had a second chance at happiness and love. While the memories of the affair and divorce would always be with me, I was able to build a new life for myself and leave the pain of the past behind. The experience of my ex-wife's affair and divorce caused me to reflect on the institution of marriage. I realized that it wasn't always easy and that people could change in unexpected ways. I also learned the importance of communication and trust in a relationship. Looking back, I could see how we had grown apart over the years and how our communication had deteriorated. I realized that I had ignored the signs for too long and that I needed to be more attentive in the future. As I started a new relationship, I knew that rebuilding trust would be a challenge. I was hesitant to let my guard down and put my faith in someone again. But I also knew that I could let my past experiences dictate my future. I worked hard to be open and honest with my new partner and to communicate my feelings and concerns slowly but surely. I began to feel more comfortable and secure in the relationship. I realized that trust was something that needed to be earned over time and that it couldn't be rushed. My ex-wife's affair and divorce had taught me many valuable lessons. I had also learned the dangers of ignoring red flags and the importance of following your instincts. I had grown as a person and felt like I was better equipped to handle whatever life threw my way with the lessons learned. And the closure found I was able to move on from the pain and trauma. I felt like I had finally closed the door on that chapter of my life and was ready to embrace the future. I knew that there would be challenges ahead, but I felt more confident and resilient than ever before. I was grateful for the support of my friends and family and for the second chance at love that I had been given. By the way, my ex-wife has tried to throw the reconcile talk at me. I told her that will never happen.